Sex, sex, sex. Hi everyone, I'm Soraya Rhea, and thank you for joining me on my review of 90 Day Fiance The Other Way, Season 1, Episode 6. All right. I just want to say I'm wearing my New York shirt, or New York City. I love New York City. Let's get to it. Let's start off with Corey and Evelyn. All right, so Corey is calling himself a gringo. All right, yes. I am personally still upset that Evelyn did not pick up Corey from the airport. Yeah, because she picked him up from the bus station, from the airport. I just think that was grimy, and I just feel like they're trying to make her into, or trying to edit her to be Anfisa-like. You know, just like almost like I could care less about you, like but she's doing a good job. She's really doing a good job. Evelyn claims that it was a test. She claims that it was a test to see if Corey can get around Ecuador and to like handle himself or whatever. But like my thing is, you met him when he was on vacation. Like, so he has come to Ecuador. Like, you didn't meet him in America. You met him in your country, I guess, somewhere around where you live or whatever. So clearly, like, even though Corey's acting like, where am I? Oh my gosh, whatever. It's like, he is well traveled and he actually can get around. So I don't know. I feel like that was just not nice. She's just not nice. Where you could be nice, like, she's just not nice. And she's trying to be very cold and distant and just kind of like stoic about it. Like, yeah, take it or leave it, whatever, don't really matter, It's just not cute. Corey, you like that? Is that nice? That's you okay with that in your relationship? Okay. Okay, so when Evelyn was talking to her family, and again, her just smugness was just so incredibly palpable, and she's like, yeah, like, I don't want to get married. She literally says the line, I don't want to get married. But then later on, she explains, in order for Corey to convince me to marry him, I will need to see that he needs to be able to get around by himself. He needs to, be able to be independent, learn Spanish in 90 days, and then connect with my family more, So she definitely has this like idea, like she is giving it up. She essentially, yeah, she needs to be convinced, so I'm not sure. I guess love is kind of not really there, whatever. But then when she picks him up from the bus stop, then, they do embrace. She hugs him, even though Corey's definitely like, he like practically squeals and is like, oh my gosh, I miss you, very high pitched voice and all that. And, she does say, Corey's the best. She says that. But then with that, there's like all this other stuff that she says, like, I don't know if I want to marry him, or you can just kind of leave and like, your negative, what did she say, that line that they kept playing in the commercial, your negative energy is going to be enough mosquito repellent. Okay, so now when does she say that? She says that evening when they go to her grandmother's house, because apparently the roof is being fixed at the home, I guess, where they live, or the apartment or whatever, where they're going to live. Which I just feel like this was just a setup / test for Corey. And so she, she just kind of says like, oh yeah, they're fixing the roof. So like, we're just gonna have to stay by my grandmother's. And Corey's like, does she have like 2 beds? Like, I guess accommodations for both of us. And she's like, she has a mattress. I mean, almost like, what does it matter what she has? What does it matter? Again, so Corey keeps in his interviews, he's like, yeah, this is third world, this is pigs everywhere, dirt road or whatever, dogs everywhere, which is true. It is dirt road, the pigs, and there are dogs everywhere. They get to Evelyn's grandmother's house, and then they take Corey to, I can't call it a room, it was just an area with 2 perpendicular wall-like structures, like cinder blocks, bricks, and a bed pushed in the corner, with new sheets that Evelyn bought. you know, I will say this. I wouldn't be staying there. Yes, I probably would feel some type of way. Like if I got there and this is my first night and like you didn't even warn me, you didn't even tell me, like, you know, it does mean something. There's lots of ways in which people can feel uncomfortable. It's not just about the conditions of the place where they're staying. It's like, you know, first night, don't know the people, whatever. I mean, there's so many things. And again, Evelyn is just, she could just care less. And she's saying that Corey is being rude and he should be thankful that her grandmother was even kind enough to let them stay by her. I'm just curious. I would like to see the area where Evelyn is sleeping. I'm just curious. I would just like to know. I liked Evelyn at first when she expressed that she likes her country and she wants to live in her country, and that's why this relationship between her and Corey is going to work with him coming to her, because she's not dying, you know, for a green card. You know, she's fine living in Ecuador, and I like that about her because we really don't see couples like that with 90 Day Fiance. So, but she's just, this is just taking a whole different route. It's not cute. Anyway, so that's all about them. Moving on to Devin and Ji-hoon. Okay, so Devin keeps saying different things about Korean cultures like this and Korean cultures like that, and Korean culture is not like this, and well, that's how it is in Korean culture. And you know, so some of the things that she's talking about is, yeah, in Korean culture, you know, having kids out of wedlock is dishonorable. And, you know, so this is like a big deal for us to get married and this and that. And I'm like, you're from Salt Lake City, okay? And even if your family isn't Mormon, there's enough Mormon families / conservative Christian families that must be in and around the Salt Lake area that it could not be so far from your reality that you couldn't conceive that somebody would look and be like, that's not how I do it, or that's not what I would want for my child, or whatever. That cannot be foreign to you, Devin. I just cannot see how that could be foreign to you, just given where you are from and where you grew up. You were a teen mom. I mean, Teen Mom is a show. So, like, the fact that it's a show still shows that it is, like, a thing of, like, here in America. You know? Like, that's still not what people want. We don't. We fight against that. Planned Parenthood is there to help combat that crisis. Okay? Ji-hoon and his parents are coming to America to visit and, you know, to get to know Devin and her family more. And so instead of her bringing them to where she is from and around her family in Salt Lake, because there's nothing to do there apparently, she wants to meet them in Vegas and then just have them stay in Vegas and show them a good time around. She gets to the airport she has her daughter, and she can't find she's not finding where Ji-hoon and his family are, him and his parents are. And then she starts crying at one point and saying, it's just so hard to be taking care of a baby. Her daughter is 3 years old, and be pregnant at the same time. So she's like crying and getting overwhelmed. I will give her half a pass because she is pregnant, so hormones are kind of involved, so I'll give her half a pass with that. But what I find really interesting is when certain Americans want to talk about other cultures, like the Korean culture being like this and the Korean culture being like that, and like this is so odd in the Korean culture, and they just don't accept these things in this culture and that culture, and you know, and here in America we're just so free, and like, you know, we just, you know, you could do anything here in America. You can just have babies at any point with any time and with anyone, and it doesn't matter, and clearly nobody cares whenever you do anything here in America. No commitment, no nothing, no. And then when life, which is the result of all of these freedoms that we have here in America, when life gets hard, as in you have a young child and then pregnant with another, when life gets hard, then, oh my God, we're the first one to start crying and be like, it's just so hard. It's just so hard to be pregnant and taking care of a kid at the same time. You know, again, it's just really funny. It's like, I'm sorry, wait, were you the first person to do this? Are you the first person to be pregnant while having a 3-year-old child? Are you the first? Or maybe you're the last. No, you're not either. Oh, okay, right. It's just something that Americans do. Okay. Anyway, so she does find Ji-hoon and his parents, and, you know, she takes them to the home where she's rented. I guess perhaps some kind of Airbnb or something. And Ji-hoon is just loving it because he's like, this is a mansion. This is like a castle because it's 2 floors and there's lots of rooms. And it's just very different from his home in Korea. And yeah, so he's just loving it. Again, sometimes I'm like, okay, wait, does that look like staged more, or does it look more like this probably would have happened even without the cameras? I'm kind of leaning towards this would happen even without the cameras. It's that kind of thing that people do where it's like there's been no discussion about how things are done, how I do things, like there's no talk. Mind you, in her interview, Devin says, me and Ji-hoon have only spent 3.5 weeks, literally, if you count up all the days that they have been around each other in person, 3.5 weeks. So she's like, so we're still getting to know each other, even though they're engaged and having a baby. So she recognizes that. So it's different. But so when you're getting to know each other, shouldn't you initiate and say, this is how I do things. This is how I do things. And so how do you do things? Like, so she, Devin and Ji-hoon are in the bed. And then she's like, so like this part of her face doesn't move, just the jaw. Go get the baby. And he's like, what? And she's like, yeah, go get the baby. She has to sleep in the middle. And Ji-hoon doesn't understand, like, what are you talking about? This is our first night together. Like, sex. And so she's like, no. She has to sleep with me. She's never slept not next to me. She always sleeps with me. And Ji-hoon is like, what? In the middle? Really? And she's like, yes. You know, again, that exasperated, like, yes. I'm sorry, should Ji-hoon have known that? Because when he met you and y'all got pregnant, I don't think Drusilla was there. Because if she was, then Ji-hoon, then why are you acting like that, right? So, yeah. So, like, did you ever tell him, like, oh, so this is how I do things? And, like, have you guys ever FaceTimed at bedtime so he could see her always being in your bed next to you? Or do you ever FaceTime when you wake up in the morning so he can see her right there in your bed next to you? I don't know, just little things like that. So, but even if none of that has happened, I'm not sure where the exasperation, yes, you know, like he should have known. I'm not sure where that's coming from. I just, you know, be patient with Ji-hoon. Really, communication, woo, boy is it an art. Boy, is it a science, and something that many people really just don't have a handle on, or really just don't recognize that they don't do well, or whatever. And perhaps it takes seeing yourself from the view of the camera and being like, oh, that's how I did things. Oh, I didn't realize that's how it came off, because in my head, it seemed like I was being clear. Anyway, so Ji-hoon is very upset about that. And then he's like, but then where do we have sex? Where do we have sex? You know, and then she's just like, you just got out of the room. And then she lets him know that she slept in her parents' bed until she was 7. Yeah. Again, these weird things like Korean culture this and Korean culture that, and just weird things about Korean culture. And then you hear things like, I slept in my parents' bed until I was 7. Oh, so that's how we do things in America. Really? Oh, so is that normal in America? The free, just boundless. You could do whatever you want in America. Oh, that's American culture. Gotcha. Okay. Moving on to Laura and Allegan. Let me just start by saying this. Woo, Laura done brought up some tea in this episode. Ooh. We're gonna have to sip some tea. But let me start with this. Allegan is fine. Woo! I mean, that's a beautiful man. I mean, he is fit, tall, he is handsome. I mean, Allegan is also all about his clean look. They are doing, at one point, the cameras follow him, I guess, to his barbershop or whatever, and he is just waxing the heck out of his face. I did not even know that they would do up here. Really? Like, all up here. Allegan says that he wants to smack the guy, you know, and it's like black wax. That stuff looks like straight up tar. He does all the way down here, whatever. But, ooh, man, I mean, do what you got to do to get that smooth shade. Ooh, boy. Anyway, even his friend Muhammad, they are cute. Okay, anyway, Allegan, you know, so this is, I guess, his opportunity to tell the story from his side. So he said that, I guess, he just somehow saw, you know, Laura's picture, and she is what he likes. Blonde hair and blue eyes. Even though she's older, that's what he likes. So he, you know, befriended her, and then they started talking. And he's then goes on to tell this elaborate story about when she finally came to visit him in Qatar. He just was so like in love with her that after 3 days, he knew he loved her and she loved him. So he had to, you know, propose to her. And I'm like, where is he? Why is he saying all of this? Like, we already know that the reason why y'all got married on the 9th day of knowing each other was because y'all can't stay in the same hotel room together in Qatar. So, like, I'm not sure why he went all elaborate with, you know, oh, it's because of love. I just loved her so much. Like, please, no. So you did that so that y'all could stay in the same room together and have sex. Like, please. I also don't understand why Laura keeps referring to him as her fiance, because y'all are married. And it actually really doesn't matter if some kind of bigger wedding is going to take place, which she does not in any way seem to be alluding to. So I'm not sure why she keeps referring to him as her fiance. I don't understand. It's your husband. You married him already. Homeboy is wearing a ring. You see it in the confessionals or in the interview. Like, I don't understand. Anyway, so then Allegan talks about then they were finally able to get some jiggy or do some jiggy. So yes, and then he says that she loves his jiggy. Cut to Laura going to a sex shop and then telling the entire US of A, national television, that the men in his culture / Allegan do not know how to please women. They are not adventurous. She's had to fake it, orgasms, multiple times just to get it over with. And she wants to be having as much fun as he's having with sex, because she's clearly not. And just, I mean, she just kept going on and on and on. Like, I was just like, what's happening? So she goes in and, you know, so the saleswoman, you know, shows her some vibrators, and then so she's like, okay, cool. Then Laura's just like, okay, now he needs some educational materials. I'm like, Lord have mercy. Like, Laura is really about it. Like, she is really trying to make this happen. Okay, she is not pleased. She is not happy. And she needs this to work out for her. So she is a woman on a mission. Okay. And so the sales girl shows her one of the books, Sex for Dummies. And she's like, he's not exactly a dummy, but he could sure use this. She just keeps going on. I mean, they go for cream and then this and then that. And she then tells America that when she was finally brave enough to even let Allegan know that he was not rocking her world, he was shocked and surprised. What I want to know is how shocked and surprised he is when he realizes that you have told the entire country / world that he ain't doing it right. Okay. So where do I want to go with this? There's so many ways. I could go so many places. With Laura talking about how in this culture, They are just not about pleasing women. They're not about being adventurous and all of that. And I don't deny that some cultures view sex this way and other cultures view sex that way and So not everybody is on the same page, right? Okay. But it's funny that, you're talking about like faking orgasms and not being satisfied. It's like, but you realize that is not like that. It's not just about the culture, because there's lots of people right here in America who are not pleased and have to fake it again. So talking about Sex and the City, there was a whole episode of Miranda faking orgasms the entire time with a eye doctor, who at one point thought that there was a problem with her because he had never heard that he had problems before. I wonder if Aladdin ever said anything like that, like, well, I've never been told that before, and Miranda was like, yeah, but up until this point you also didn't know that I was faking it, so you don't know if those past women were faking it. They just may not have ever told you. So then there's that, right? And then the other thing is, could it be that while there might be people that have quick or instant physical chemistry, could it be that many people to really have really good sex, that it really is about knowing the person well, trusting the person, having been in a good, stable, committed relationship? I'm just wondering. And it's like, while many people here in America are very much like, sexual, like freedom, just do whatever you want, with whomever you want, whenever you want. But it's like, wait, so, so does that mean everybody's having mind-blowing sex all the time? I'm just curious. With that, if you follow that kind of, that American way of having sex, everybody's just good to go from jump too. Nobody really has to work at it. I'm just curious, like, how honest are people being about their sex lives? And even with that, again, like, even when people, and to even take it a step further, when people, particularly on the show, when they swear off their particular culture or race or whatever, like, I'm done with the men or women here in America, I'm done with this, I'm done with that, blah, 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 and then they go find somebody else in another country. And then thank you, Laura, at least for keeping it real and being honest and letting us know that even when you go and find your beloved somewhere else in the world, you realize that problems are still there, So in the end, problems in general. And mind you, remember, Laura had her issue with her ex-husband. Who knows? They may have had a wonderful sex life. Who knows? But then look at how he treated her, right? And then maybe with Allegan, now we don't really know how Allegan treats her, but like, let's say Allegan treats her really nice, but then maybe their sex life isn't really that great. So it's like, we do realize, right? No matter where you go in the world, with whomever, whenever, at what point, what age you are, whatever, relationships take work, which requires time, which really does require commitment for it to actually be a good, thriving thing. So again, sometimes when we just think like, oh, well, then I just need this, or I just need that, or I just these kind of quick things. It's like, I think what people really kind of don't ever really admit is that time, effort, work, commitment is really what it takes in this life to really kind of get what you really, really do want deep down inside. Moving on. Paul and Karine. Not much going on with this couple, except for the fact that Paul and Karine go shopping for some of the baby things that he was not able to bring, in all of his stuff that, he had to leave, right? So they go and find like a baby bathtub, and Paul says, well, here in America, we'd have a tub, and, but here we don't, so that's why we have to buy this. And I'm like, does Paul not know that, like, people buy baby bathtubs here in America? Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's a little baby, like, that unless you're going to literally lay down in the tub, that's kind of really unsafe. Like, so pretty much you do need to have a baby bathtub or some kind of basin or something to lay the little infant in. So that is not because you don't have access to a tub, Paul. No. Anyway, so he did say that the cost of it was equivalent to like $100 US. I'm not, if that's true, that is crazy. But yeah. But anyway, it might be. So, but Paul is a little clueless. But in a sense, so is Karini, because she's like, I don't think that Paul grasps the fact of how much babies cost and how things are expensive. And I'm like, Karini, this is the person that you married. Paul is the same person that he was from the very first time that he met you, whatever, 2 years ago or whatever. So I'm sorry. He's the same. Paul is the exact same. You made this choice. Anyway, now the only thing I will say, I am on Paul's side with this. Paul cannot legally work in Brazil yet. So with Karini saying he needs to get a job, he needs to work, well then he's gonna have to come back to America and do his odd jobs here and there, because he cannot legally work in Brazil. And unless you want him to do some odd jobs under the table in Brazil right then okay, well then fine. Then tell him that that's what he needs to do, and then get him set up with that. I mean, how else is he going to find that? You got to help get him set up with that. But without his work visa, this is not going to happen, boo. So whatever savings he does have is what you guys are going to have to use. What can I say? Okay. And then at the end, oh boy, Paul runs off at the end. Why? Because he then gets a letter or he is informed that I guess his visa or something did not go through. And it was saying something along the lines of him having been convicted of being a terrorist or of a terrorist act. And Paul is like, that is not true. I've never done anything like, I've never committed a terrorist act. I'm not a terrorist. I was never convicted of terrorism in America. What are they talking about? You know? And it's like, right, Paul, you were just convicted of arson, and not even arson of other people's stuff. You set ablaze your own things. So no, Paul. So he's really upset. Oh, what I will say is, whatever these translator apps are, the technology is phenomenal. Paul had this piece of paper, put his phone like in front of the paper, I guess with the camera facing the document, and then the app was then able to literally translate the words into English. It was the coolest thing. I've never seen anything like that. That is just so incredibly cool. Whatever engineers do those things, like, y'all are amazing, okay? Because if it wasn't for y'all, I don't know what Paul would be doing, okay? So he is reading it and realizing like it's telling him that he has 10 days, apparently. If he's reading and understanding it properly, he has 10 days to like get out of the country. So he is just, I mean, he's saying that Karina's gonna be upset. Forget Karini. I mean, Paul, you must be upset, you know? And then of course not understanding what's going on here. And then he just runs off just like, you know, in Paul-like fashion. It's crazy town. Anyway, that's pretty much it, guys. I don't know what to say, but I'm very interested. What y'all think? What do you guys think about Allegan and Laura? What you think about all that? You want to sip some tea with me? Was anybody feeling what I was saying about relationships, about it being something much deeper? Okay, let me know in the comments. Like this video if you like the content, and then of course share with people so we can keep the conversation going again. And I really appreciate anybody that leaves their comments. I love them and I always respond. So hopefully we can continue the convo. All right, guys, see you next week. Bye.